55% of India's exports to US, if you look at the overall, is hit by these decisions. 25% has already come. Another 25%, the threat of coming has caused immense setback to these industries. Countries don't trade, it's companies which trade. Look at individual companies, you have to look at from another perspective. How much they're taking out of India? Google is really big here, Apple is really big here. Once again, expect that there would be between Russia and US, there will be some kind of arrangement, and therefore we'll get a relief out of that. Is again, I think, is a very wishful thinking.
Hello and welcome, Vijay Srinivasan. This is Talking Sense with Srini. US President Donald Trump keeps the world guessing, leaving world leaders on tenterhooks with his tariff threats. Trump has slapped India with about 25% of reciprocal tariffs and another 25% as penalty for buying Russian oil. Indian businesses are already feeling the pinch. As India pins its hopes on the Trump-Putin summit in Alaska, we are joined by our editor-in-chief, Mr. S. Srinivasan, to discuss further. Thank you very much indeed for your time, sir.
Hi, Vijay.
There was a perception that India-US relations were moving from strength to strength in the last couple of years. And has this tariff episode has fundamentally altered this perspective? And do you see that there has been some kind of a diplomatic failure at India's end, particularly the negotiating table?
Right. You're right. Indo-US relations have been improving over a period of time. And this is not, 1 or 2 years, 2 years. It's been improving over decades. So it's not just with trade. All strategic interest. Trade is one part of that. Other than defense, space cooperation, nuclear. 123 agreement India signed with the US, which means that US won't deny us any nuclear technology. The denial regime was removed. We agreed to many things. When 2008 that agreement was signed with, when Manmohan Singh was the Prime Minister. So the cooperation, also the defense cooperation. Then we are a member of Quad now. So the strategic interest, whether it's in the field of space, science, technology, trade, everywhere it was been improving. So if you just look at trade, now when you say trade, it's actually only portion of the trade we actually do, merchandise trade. That's what we are talking about. Now, if you had to include everything, now you know that there is a deficit of $75 billion.
That's right.
It looks as if India is exporting a whole lot of things and we are receiving very little from the United States. That's not true. In fact, if you have to bring in defense, a few aircrafts would cost much more. So those things are not here. Services exports, ours is huge, but that's out of this purview of all this. What we are talking here is a very limited kind of thing. But since you're asking whether our trade relationship have been growing, because that's what we're dealing with today. We're not discussing other issues. So look at this. If you have to take decadal growth, I have some numbers here. The total trade, if you take between United States and India, so between 1985 and 1995, it has grown by 129%. Now again, from 1995 to 2005, 196%. Then again, next decade, 147%. Next, 9 years now, 2024, 94%. So, the growth of trade has been happening. It's phenomenally good. So, major items which we do are all, things which we'll discuss further as we go on. So, the trade, of course, have been increasing. But what did happen? Why this change happened? Because Donald Trump decided something else, and which is completely unexpected. In Trump 2.0 seems to be very, very different from what he was earlier. So I will read out just the objective April 4 press note, which he said why he's doing it. It says, the openings, why. The objective says, it's aimed at regulating imports with a reciprocal tariff to rectify trade practices that contribute to large and persistent annual US goods and trade deficits, which is causing unusual and extraordinary threat to American security and economy. This is totally, this
ridiculous
statement. Ridiculous is a very, very mild statement you're making. So, and therefore he imposed kind of a national emergency and declared that, okay, all countries, I'm going to have a reciprocal trade. And what he did by doing this, that he has completely. This is something what happened earlier. I was listening to an interview by a former, senior official of UNCTAD. He was saying after 1971, what Nixon did, what they brought in the new international order, which was called, where a new standard was decided by linking gold with the American dollar, something like that. So he is trying something majorly different, a very disruptive move, which is not just India, it has shaken the entire world. And he's doing it, and his reasoning is very specious. It's the richest country. Now, if I have to look at it, why I'm saying this, the trade, Indo-US trade, as I said, is very limited. It's only merchandise trade, but it affects India very badly. But for them, what about Google? How much of revenue? I mean, countries don't trade. It's companies which trade. Look at individual companies. You have to look at from another perspective. How much they're taking out of India? Google is really big here. Apple is really big here. You take any major, technology company. They are big all over the world.
That's
and some of the budgets of national budgets will be, I dare say, a portion of their budgets of their private companies. And they have huge multinational companies, defense establishment, all those kind of things. To give this argument that this is causing, a kind of a unusual and extraordinary threat to US security and its economy is all bunkum. So he's just doing it because he just want to, this is Trump and Trumpian ways of doing things, very difficult to explain.
Okay. So, but the question is, do you think that this is some kind of diplomatic failure?
Well, I don't think you can single out India for this, because if you are asking a question whether Prime Minister Modi and his foreign minister, they all failed in perceiving it, well, the entire world in a way did not, they wouldn't have anticipated that Trump in his second coming would be so different. So I won't say a kind of failure, but yes, certainly it has received a very rude shock. We are in a very difficult position. Why? Because over the years we have been gradually moving towards the United States. In a way, if you look at diplomatically, we haven't, we were earlier importing largely our defense equipments and strategic partner from from USSR, and then which later became Russia. So we are much closer to them. We kind of started moving, and this happened in the 80s also. We diversified our defense purchases. We went to Europe also. We went to United States also. Some of the things were not available. Like, for instance, we wanted engine GE404 of our own light combat aircraft, which we are not getting from US because of sanctions and other things. So, but then, even then, we persistently were moving towards US. So, what has happened is Russia, in his new avatar, must have felt at some point of time that India is moving. And but earlier we used to call ourselves as a kind of a non-aligned country.
That's right.
That position was also not being openly spoken about. In a way, we had become much closer to the United States than we were ever. Even that now stands at a very odd position now. Because I think some of our, foreign affairs officials is slightly smug about the fact that, we are pretty close to US. And then, especially now what happened, a recent skirmish on the border with Pakistan, and also China, the relations, and then US. Russia, all these things are actually conflated into a kind of a crisis for India. So certainly there is an external affairs crisis. I think the other diplomatic kind of a snafu which happened was constant projection of personalities, saying that, Modi is very close to...
the bonhomie between the leaders.
Yeah, bonhomie. It did help the domestic audience for BJP as a party. It did help them to shore up its image. But then diplomacy has its limitation when it is purely dependent on personalities. I think that's what we are saying, because Trump is unrelenting. He doesn't bother about these issues. And that's what we are seeing now. In that sense, therefore, it could have been slightly, in that sense, one could feel it's a bit of an embarrassment to, patch up, because Federal has carried a story a day before that, if some big leader were to come to United States, India would be very happy. If the president comes from there or somebody comes, I think we are at a stage right now, we won't be very happy. Even Indian population seems to have slightly turned against
That's
The
right.
mood is very, kind of very different now, what you would imagine. So all these things have happened because of various changes and kind of, in a way, couldn't see this coming. In that sense, you're right.
As we delve deep into these tariff threats, India, certain sectors seem to have significant exposure to the United States, and one among them is the gems and jewelry industry, followed by pharmaceuticals and textile industry. How do you think these kind of industries can actually cope with these tariffs and navigate further?
Yeah, so if you look at one of the biggest hit we got is on textiles, fabric, and apparel. Apparently, in value terms, about $10 billion worth exports we do. So the problem here is the other one which you hit is another gems and jewelry, about another $10 billion. Third is marine products. It's 70 to 80% of small and marginal farmers that depend on that. And again, it's very badly hit. The other thing is electronics. There are two kinds of electronics here. What we hit is 18.4%. We are the largest export partner to US as electronics, about 10.65 billion. So all these things are big chunks. Apparel 10 billion, textile and fabric 10 billion, then electronics another 10.65 billion. All these things are big setbacks.
That's right.
What is actually even much more worrying here is that these are all in sectors in India which are very, very, manpower intensive.
That's right.
And it could cause huge unemployment. Already, the various textile association is cautioning that, many people may lose their jobs. Same may happen with gems and jewelry because they are manpower intensive. And these people and largely these are all MSMEs, small companies, and these are not large companies. And in the electronics, look at the duplicity. PCB, a printed circuit board, battery chargers, electric inverters, photovoltaic cell, optical fibers, which India manufactures. These are all again labor intensive, some of this. These are all not exempted. What US has coolly exempted, Trump has coolly exempted, is smartphones, laptops, because US companies are involved in manufacturing. So Apple, for instance, he had Tim Cook went and met him so he could sort out whatever things. So those are exempted. So US is that way being, very selective about these things. Other thing which is exempted here is pharma. Since you asked me that question, I'm saying again, pharma is exempted. Now, 55% of India's exports to US, if you look at the overall, is hit by these decisions. 25% has already come. Another 25%, the threat of coming has caused immense setback to these industries. So imagine it's really a big setback as 55% of our exports to US. It covers all those sectors which are badly hit. The rest comes in the exempted sector.
Experts also say that India should now be looking out for other regions for diversification of its trade ties. And do you see India sort of accelerating its trade relationship with sort of European Union or Middle East or Southeast Asia for that matter? Is India really prepared to re-engineer its supply chains right now?
Right. I think that's what India should be doing. And already you would have seen that, some attempts are being made where India is trying to reach out to other countries. So let me rewind you back. When April 4, when this announcement came, so several European countries weren't expecting that, Trump would pounce on them also. They just thought it was going to be China and other some difficult countries who are probably not having such this thing relationship with US. They'll get affected. But Europe got affected and they were stunned. And they initially said we're going to retaliate. There are other countries which are very, very close to US, have been not just strategic partners. They are actually allies. India is not an ally in that sense. We don't have any alliance with the US. We don't have any military alliance in that sense. But there are people countries which actually had military alliances, they were aghast because he went on left, right and center imposing. So that time the conversation was that what would happen is perhaps US may get isolated because all other countries may get together. Europe may become one important point. And, India and other countries, even China could have some kind of cooperation and United States will feel isolated. Therefore, when the trade, instead of having with the US, other countries may start having among themselves, which will put pressure on them.
That's right.
But that's not what exactly happened, because his tactics, this kind of a bullying tactics, if you look at the press note also, he says remaining things will be imposed after negotiation. So what he has done is, on the one hand, extended a threat, and the other, he is negotiating. So many countries have fallen for those negotiations, and they got away with relief. Even China, though he has threatened a lot, but hasn't actually imposed many things. This is what he has done to other countries also. Some nations, he was saying, they are coming forward to give me offers. So what he has done is, by creating a kind of like a bully in the in China shop, he went in, hit them hard, and then made some of them agree to his terms, and that's what he's trying with India too. But it's going to be much more difficult for India. So coming back to your question, whether India should now deal with other nations, yes, it should, because rather than completely dependent, if we can try that these sectors which are very vulnerable for us, because a whole lot of employment is based on that, and already you know that India is facing an unemployment problem. We are having growth but without employment. So that's a crisis in any case we are facing. So it's important for us that we look for alternate markets and we find new ways, new innovative ways to go into that. India earlier, let me take you back, had a leadership position as far as South-South cooperation is concerned, which is basically among underdeveloped and developing countries. India would always take a position, and that position many times used to be a kind of a moralistic position also. So in many cases, it was dismissed as rhetorical, some of these initiatives. But then, if you look back, possibly they were good initiative, and India could have worked on them. And of course, we didn't, because, as I said, we kind of dropped all those kind of foreign policy notions now, and India has actually ambitions of becoming a regional power and also a kind of a counterpoise to China. So I think some of these things could be reinvented, that we re-establish some of those relationships. I'm sure those countries would be warm to us, and then we can try if these markets can be reopened for us.
Some economists also say that there could be a lot of opportunities amid these tough times, that this could also be seen as some kind of a 1991 moment once again. But do you think, can we still actually talk about all this? Can we still talk about Atmanirbharta at a time when we've been importing the nuts and bolts from China for our manufacturing?
Well, if you have to compare, 1991 was a very, very difficult situation for India. We hardly have left with, less than 2 weeks of
high debt, high inflation.
Yeah, no. Also, that we have very little forex to
plummeting
import.
Forex. That's right.
Yeah, so we didn't have much to even import. So we were in a real crisis. We had to pledge our gold. We had to do all kinds of things. That's where we opened our economy. We opened our industry. We removed MRTP. We also opened our external policy. And we also improved our relation to the other thing in terms of external trade. And we were very we pushed our trade with other countries. We brought down our tariffs, opened up.
Divestment.
We did lots of things. No, I'm talking about also external trade.
That's right, okay.
External sector. We did a lot of things in it. Even with rupee, which was kind of a fixed rate, it was actually kind of, except, so we diluted some of that. So all these things, foreign exchange, that's what I'm talking. A lot of reforms were done. Whether we'll do something like this, a crisis always offers an opportunity. And we are not in that serious crisis in that sense.
Right.
But then again, exports are important. And for rapid growth of this economy, we have to grow rapidly. We have to have higher growth rates. I think for India, the growth rate should be 10%. Now, some of us are very happy that, we are growing at 6 to 7%. Even this conversation is not enough to really achieve some of our objective, which we are stating out very, very happily. We need a large growth.
That's right.
10% growth is required for this country. So obviously, this opens up a lot of possibilities. There could be more infrastructure reforms. There could be, externally, we could, bring back uh, internally we could do a lot of reforms, like um, maybe we improved our logistics further, we improve our trade, we give more financial help to MSMEs. So we could do a lot of internal rejig. We make our companies more efficient, because after all, the tariff walls are impossible to face, some of them, because we have huge disadvantage now. 30% disadvantage with our eastern neighbors, 35% at disadvantage with Europe. So we are in a very, very disadvantaged situation right now because of all this. If this 50% stands, so to overcome that, India will have to do something drastically. In that sense, it opens us opportunities. So we could look at those issues. Also, I think India could again take a leadership role in in looking at multilateral forums.
That's right.
See, the one thing which has happened, what Trump has done is completely flattened out a rule-based system. WTO is now more or less gone, which was done after a lot of negotiations. So instead of rule-based trading, where there'll be most favored nation and those kind of things, everything has been turned upside down. It has become the bully who could bully the other person and extract whatever he could have. So I think India could take a position here, need not confront the United States on the face of it, but then start mobilizing these things once again. Maybe we should even create once again a common payment system or something. We can initiate those kind of things. So there are opportunities, and a crisis always offers an opportunity. So they have to be more creative, and there are possibilities, certainly.
With Washington counting India as some kind of a strategic counterweight to India, do you see that particular, sort of viewpoint is now sort of being challenged or sort of undermined, or you see that this is some kind of a temporary sort of a straight skirmish?
Yeah, so again, here is a question. Did we, that's where exactly, like I said earlier, that probably some of our officials are pretty smug, having a close relationship with the US. I think we should continue to have some kind of independent relationship with China as well, rather than, allowing ourselves to be, so we should have continued to maintain. I think those efforts will be made now, that we need to have a direct relationship with China. And whatever US objectives are, those are different. It should be our objective, what we want to do as a nation. So we should be making efforts in that direction, and India can do it because it's a huge nation. 1,400 million people here. I mean, it's a most populous country in the world. So certainly these possibilities are there with us. So we should be leveraging that. So improve our relationship with China, improve also relationship with other countries which are friendly, and try to do more trade with them. Those are the possibilities which we must exploit.
India seems to have pinned its hope on the Alaska summit between President Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin, and and there could be some kind of a softening in terms of the penalty of 25%. Do you think India is being realistic on this note?
I again don't think so, because you see, I think this is the one point of view. I am even told that several exporters and others, when they are approaching the ministries, they have been told that wait few more weeks, probably we'll find a solution. The summit is also important. Let's see if there is some tie-up between Putin and Trump. Probably we'll benefit from that. I see a very little possibility. Even if there is any relief we get, can you predict what kind of goalposts now, what kind of shifting of goalposts may happen now? Because this whole slapping of initial tariff started with saying that, it's very unfair, in trading. So the tariff should be lowered. India started lowering its tariffs. In fact, in the budget, there are a lot of signals from India that, we are willing to trade. And we gave a lot of concessions. But then suddenly you realize that, the goalpost has been changed now. They're saying, why are you buying Russian oil? There's duplicity. China buys more Russian oil than us.
That's right. Then
Europeans are using, Russian fuel. Everything is happening, and then America is closing its eyes. So, see, the duplicity has been a hallmark of the
United States.
superpower. Even in the past it has done that. There is, something which they would do, and some other preaching they would give to other countries. So they have been preachy in that sense. They've been doing things like this. In the past also they're doing now. So to once again expect that there would be between Russia and US, there'll be some kind of arrangement, and therefore we'll get a relief out of that, is again, I think, is a very wishful thinking. We must now stand on our feet. We must face it squarely and diplomatically and see that how do we get out of it.
Okay, if the US tariffs continue to persist beyond the Trump administration, how do you think India can actually be future-proofing its economy to deal with these kind of skirmishes in the future?
Truly, the economists, some of the prominent Indian economists should be able to tackle this question. But let me quickly say what I feel about this. Look, whether this kind of regime, whether it is just another 3.5 years where Trump is kind of, causing a rampage, is one thing. So most people think that, they just expect or wish that this doesn't continue after 3-4 years. But again, I would say here that the damage that would have caused to the global economy would be tremendous, because it has taken years and years of negotiations for several countries in various WTO forums to arrive at some kind of a multilateral trade formulation. All this, he's just destroying it. So the damage would be huge. In how many years that will be retrieved, we don't know. But yes, certainly, like I said earlier, that this should make India and Indian industry realize that, look, we have to make quality products. We have to make competitive products. We have to be more efficient. We have to be more technologically savvy. We have to, improve our own, put our own house in order to be able to, face this competition.
Thank you very much, sir. Pleasure talking to you. Thank you.
Thank you.